right, you're welcome to your program, ICAN-ngr. And today, the 23rd day in the month of October 2025, of course, we have a special edition for you, which is the coverage of the 55th Annual Accountant Conference. Of course, we are there in Abuja between October 6th and October 9th. And for those who were there, either physically or virtually, I'm sure they could attest to that wonderful programs, the wonderful package put together by your institute. The theme of the conference was building resilience, aligning reforms for Nigeria's development. And of course, it was a full package, a total package in terms of the presentations by the speakers, the firesides, the Young Accountants Program. A whole lot of programs were were lovely, and I'm sure the 55th A.A.C is another memorable program. Of course, we have not forgotten you, of course, and that's why we have brought this special package for you, so that for you, whether you were busy in Abuja or you were joining us virtually or you couldn't even make any part of it, we have put together clips from that program such that you could actually watch and enjoy. So I'm here for you today. I'm Tosin Akinwumi, FCA, and of course the team ICAN-ngr was live in Abuja, and we covered the whole program. And here today we have for you such that you can enjoy that 55th A.A.C. So I have a whole lot for you to share with you today. Don't be in haste. Together, let us enjoy this program. I'll be back after this time out. Don't go away. All right, ladies and gentlemen and professional colleagues, you're welcome to the city of Abuja for the 55th Annual Accountant Conference. Of course, you know, as we do it in ICAN, this is another year, another edition, the 55th edition. There will be lovely presentations, there will be district parade, there's going to be lots of fun, and certainly you will enjoy it. Stay tuned, don't go away.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a delight for me to welcome you all to the 55th Annual Accountants Conference of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICAN. As at now, we have a record figure of 7,615 physical, exceeding the expectations of 6,500.
Today, we are gathered here not only to declare open the 55th Annual Accountant Conference of our great institute, we are gathered to deepen Nigerian roots so that we can withstand the winds of reforms, inflations, and uncertainty with clarity and courage.
My goodwill message goes to all of us. Everything we're doing, we should try our very best possible to be just, to be fair, and to be accurate in all our endeavors.
As I walked in here, I saw the faces of everybody, and I said, yes, this is one event that one shouldn't have missed, and I thank Almighty for making me to be part of you for this very important program.
We must,
In a nutshell, first of all, I congratulate ICAN, the President, the members of Council, and indeed the entire membership on the 55th Annual Conference of ICAN. It's an important continuity, and we very, very much commend their resilience and their determination and their support and partnership for government over the years. And of course, we have many accountants in the Ministry of Finance that are members of ICAN. As for the reform journey that we are all on together, it's in 3 stages. Market reforms to remove the major distortions that were besieging and holding down the advance of the Nigerian economy. Of course, the market pricing of foreign exchange, the market pricing of petroleum products liberated so much by way of resources to government at all levels. Secondly, the stabilization that's needed to encourage investment. Stabilization, inflation, most importantly, inflation is coming down. It's just over 20% now, all the way down from above 30%. And the last 5 months consecutively, it has fallen. And we look forward to that trajectory continuing. The biggest enemy of all society, not to talk of the poorest and most vulnerable, is inflation. So it is everybody's battle to make sure that we bring inflation down. Then we can bring, the governor of central bank would no doubt then have the leeway to bring down interest rates, which will make funding more affordable for micro enterprises, small and medium scale, and of course the large companies. And then, having stabilized the economy, exchange rate, reserves, economy growing, the third element is to achieve rapid, sustained, inclusive growth that creates jobs and lifts Nigerians out of poverty. And you achieve that by investment, by encouraging the private sector to feel comfortable, to take advantage of the incentives, to take advantage of the competitive investment environment, and even the competitive exchange rate that allows and encourages exports. That is the trajectory on which Nigeria is on. And it's a transformation of the economy that is producing opportunities for all. And I will not fail to end by mentioning at the same time a robust, transparent, and very, very efficient social safety net has been put in place, where those that need to be reached and helped to ensure they are not left behind and unduly suffering from the negative effects, the inevitable pains of the reform process, that they are reached biometrically and digitally, so that individuals that government wants to provide funding for, direct benefit transfers that help them, we have a robust system in place. It will cover, in the first place, 15 million Nigerians.
Honorable Minister, Coordinating Minister of the Economy, has done a great job in showcasing the progress that has been recorded by Nigeria in terms of particularly securing macroeconomic stability and laying the foundations for growth. He has also outlined perspectives and insights in terms of the efforts that government will be making going forward. And for us as panelists, of course, and for others, first of all, it was a great opportunity to learn. And I think the platform, the ICAN providing this platform for government to really come and showcase and communicate to the public and to stakeholders, an important stakeholder, about reforms was a good one, and to get input and feedback. And I believe that from what we heard and from my own knowledge and insights, we are on the right direction. We are, of course, at a critical, at a crossroads, if you like, a critical juncture in the reform. So we are not out of the woods yet. We've laid the groundwork for sustainable growth, and it's been tough and difficult. There have been adjustment has been very, short-term costs have been very high, as was acknowledged by government. But I believe that in terms of what's being laid out, efforts to deepen and consolidate these reforms and the progress that's being recorded and the measures that have been taken will really help boost growth. But again, one thing that came out from this is that for resilience, we need to ensure that we have inclusivity. So inclusiveness is key, and I think the message was very clear from the minister and from us as panelists that we need to look beyond GDP measures. We need to look at ways of really mitigating the impact of the reform, but making the reform more inclusive. That means addressing poverty and inequality, ensuring that measures policy measures, programs are focused on these areas. And I believe also that one message that came out clearly was that this journey requires collective effort. But additionally, it stresses the important role that ICAN can play in this journey as a professional association, and the members really in terms of particularly in the area of financial integrity, in the area of ensuring efficiency and effectiveness in the way public finance is raised and money is judiciously utilized. So it's been a very good overall engaging session, and I want to thank the ICAN for bringing together everybody to speak to this important and topical issue.
I must say that resilience is very important. The word means that we are going beyond just recovery. In respective of the shock that may come our way as a nation, we are able to withstand that and also come out stronger, for our economy to thrive. And we all know that government have made some reforms, which of course includes but not limited to tax reform, which we have seen concluded this year, but majorly to start the implementation next year. We have also seen subsidy removal, which of course made household in a lot of shocks. We have also seen, as the last major one, the issue of currency flotation. So some of these reforms have done some very positive things to the pocket of different economic agents, especially the government. But it has also left some of the untold hardship, as recognized by the President of the Republic, on the population. So we have seen poverty as well as wealth in the pockets of individuals. We have seen also in the pocket of government. We have seen that the share of FAC has increased more than double, in some instances tripled, and those are expected to go directly into the economy by the subnational and local government investing them in their respective areas, as well as federal government putting that in place. So the reforms is to correct some distortion, which you may want to call exchange rate distortion or price distortion. As I talk to you today, exchange rate has left what it used to be. It's now at 1,400, 1,500. Before the current administration came on board, it was 400 to 700. When administration came on board, it went to a point of 1,900. But today we have seen that ease and it's stabilized around 1,400. So when the president recently said that the worst is over, people were wondering which of the worst. Are we talking of 400 or 700? Are we talking of 1,100? To my mind, to play the devil's advocate, I think it meant the worst that happened that took the exchange rate from 700 to 1,900, now to around 400. That might be what the president referred to. But as economists, I so much cherish the work accountants are doing, but to provide perspective into macroeconomic background or macroeconomic variable, and I'm talking of those variables in Nigeria, which includes inflation. Inflation before the president came on board was over 24%. Inflation went to 34%. We saw adjustment in the base year and adjustment in basket of commodity. Once that was done, inflation dropped 10%. In research, economic research, we call that outlier. 10% from 34% to 24%. And after that, we saw about 20 basis point increase in inflation. But after that 20 to 30 basis point increase, I've seen inflation reduce on 5 consecutive months, month on month, and year on year. We have seen those reduction. But I have advised central bank that, listen, do not use this reduction to make policy, especially to reduce significantly what monetary policy rate will be. The reason is because what led to the decrease in inflation is not a result of prices coming down as it were, even though some food items are coming down, but because we adjusted the base. And if you ask any economist, there's what they call base year effect. If you are not careful, your number will be reporting something and the experience will be different. That is not what we want to achieve as economics of notes in the country. Another one you look at is unemployment, which of course I know professional body, I can say, oh, you mean unemployment came down? Is important to explain that Again, Bureau of Statistics adjusted the methodology. Before now, it was 20 hours a week. For some countries in Africa, some of them have changed as they've been advised by the ILO and as well as UNDP, that Nigeria should also follow suit, country using 1 hour a week. Before now, we used 40 hours a week as of 2016. 2016, under Yemi Kale, we changed that to 20 hours a week, and 20 hours a week, Nigeria still went high to 33.3%, which means of the labor force is not everybody. Of the labor force, Nigeria labor force is around 70 million. That means out of 220 million people, as of then, 70 million were the people who are able and willing to work. You have the remaining 150 million who depended on just 70 million people. Of these 70 million people, 33% of them are said to be unemployed. But recently, that was adjusted again to 1 hour a week, where you now have 4 to 5 hours of unemployment. What that means is you have huge underemployment and you have huge youth unemployment. So that number has also been relatively the same. But if you ask me what are the allowable numbers globally, for inflation is 2 to 3%, for unemployment is 2 to 3%. On the old numbers that we're using, it was 6 to 9%. Our GDP number, which is very critical, we can't say so much without starting with GDP. GDP is supposed to be positive for Nigeria, the kind of economy we have. Our GDP should be in double digits. And for us to achieve the goal of Mr. President of $1 trillion economy in the next 10 years, starting from 2023 to 2033, we should be growing 17%. But what we have now is about 4%. But I believe that 4% is the nearly double of our population growth rate. When are we going to get there? The slower we grow or farther away we were from 17%, the longer it might take us. Rebasing the economy as airports, we were 199 million as of last year. This year, we're now close to $250 billion economy. Now behind South Africa and 2 other countries, which place us in the 4th position. Not my figures, according to the UNDP that released the number for Nigeria.
ICAN at 60. What are our wins and what is the way forward from here?
ICAN at 60 is a very important turnaround. Diamond Jubilee celebration and attainment is not a means achievement. But having said that, judging from the beginning of that particular institution, I'm glad to say that ICAN had played a very, very important role, not only in developing the profession, but in also ensuring that ICAN participation as an accounting institute has its role to play, not only nationally, but also internationally. The brand name for accounting and finance in the scheme of world accountancy affairs and finance affairs is ICAN, as far as Nigeria is concerned. And this is a beautiful thing for the government and the people of ICAN to continue to give as much support as possible to this professional institute that is standing them in good stead in the scheme of accountancy world.
And for young accountants who look forward to people like you as a role model, what advice do you have for them?
The advice for them is very, very simple. In fact, you don't need to really advise incoming accountants because the tenets, the principles are well laid out. It is part of the curriculum, and they imbibe it. And that is why they are usually a reference point when it comes to accuracy and integrity. And as far as that aspect is concerned, the importance of accountability in the scheme of things generally, in governance, in your home, in industry, in what have you, is accountability. For as long as you're able to display this conduct and ensure and inspire these tenets of accountability, obviously, the import of avoiding the incidence of corruption will be drastically reduced.
Thank you very much, sir. It is an honor to have you on ICAN-ngr, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Many households still believe that those reforms are yet to translate to positivity for the very many Nigerians. What do you say to this?
I think it takes time for policy execution to have impact on the ground. And if you listen to the Minister of Finance, there's been a lot of progress, especially in terms of macroeconomic stability. Inflation has come down. The second quarter of this year has registered more than 3 percentage points of economic growth and all of that. I think that's very important to have that stability before the real sector can pick up. So while many households may not feel it now, it will travel down to impact them positively at the end of the day. Some of the reforms you mentioned, one that stuck out was the fact that there's some fiscal progress. There's a lot expenditure pressures, but they've done a lot in sort of dealing with that to the point that expenditures is much in place, and this is why you're seeing inflation come down. So fiscal discipline it's a big thing, where they control their borrowing from the central bank, simply where we normally say printing of money, and they've gone to the market to borrow. And that's where I link it to ICAN. ICAN advocates for fiscal discipline. They also more or less are the architects for financial accountability and partners, as the minister said, partners in policy execution. And I think that's very important for resilience. The progress that they've made with our ICAN continuing to be advocates for fiscal discipline, all of those could just be a waste. So ICAN has a critical role in continuing to promote good governance, and by that I mean accountability, which is underpinned by transparency in governance and management of public resources. Inclusion is very important. Stakeholders, engaging stakeholders in the management of the affairs of their country, including a lot of the things that the minister said would require that you consult with citizens. Our judicial issues, I mean, the law it's very important. Legal issues must be well entrenched, and lastly, anti-corruption. Corruption is at the heart of a lot of Africa's problems, and I think steps are being taken to deal with all of those. And ICAN has a critical role in supporting government and other stakeholders to promote all of these principles and elements of good governance.
Now, what exactly are your thoughts again regarding ethical leadership, strengthening professional accountant perspective?
Well, thank you. It's really good to be here. Like I was saying earlier, ICAN is my primary constituency, so it's always lovely to be part of everything that ICAN does. And I don't think there's a more important time for us to be talking about ethical leadership than where we are today in Nigeria. And if you think about the theme, it's strengthening professional accountants for economic transformation. And like I said earlier, what professional accountants are gatekeepers for financial integrity. The job we do is critical for building trust in our societies and helping our markets and societies to function. Trust is a currency of business and society. Without trust, right, people cannot invest. People cannot, even to take your money to the bank is because you trust the bank. So for us as professional accountants, our ability to remain objective, to act with integrity, and to do our jobs professionally is the fuel that enables every economic transformation to take root and be sustained. So for me, that requires ethical leadership right at the top, tone at the top that is focused on leading with courage, acting with integrity, and ensuring that everything we do is designed to make sure that our systems and our processes are geared towards building that trust and enable our market and our systems and our economic systems to function properly.
And what would your advice be for young accountants or upcoming accountants who actually also want to have a very good future in this profession?
Remain relevant, develop your skills, enhance your knowledge. The world is changing rapidly. It is not enough to be an accountant. You've got to understand, you've got to be well-rounded. You've got to understand technology. You've got to understand ethics. You've got to understand corporate governance. So your job is not to be an accountant that prepares financial statements or you understand tax. How do you leverage technology? How do you build people? How do you lead? And how do you act in a way that builds trust? But more importantly, or very important, is be courageous. Because ethical leadership can sometimes be difficult. Sometimes you might be standing alone because it takes courage to do something that is ethical when everybody is not doing it. So for everyone, if you're a young accountant, it doesn't matter what the culture is. You should remember that ethics is a virtue in and of itself. It is no reward. So develop your skills, hone your skills, be courageous, be bold, and make sure that you're ready for the future.
You know the theme of the conference. We just want your perspective on what economic reforms have been done in Nigeria and what we should expect in the nearest future, sir.
Well, everybody knows that the government of the day is a government of reforms. Some very big reforms have been done that are very momentous and salutary towards the trajectory of the economy, and we're beginning to see the gains of those reforms, even though we've been in for just over 2 years. There's reforms on FX, foreign exchange, the Naira. There's also the reforms on petroleum subsidy, and then there's a big reform on taxes that's coming up, going into effect by January 2026. Already we can reel out quite a number of gains already. The GDP has begun to ratchet up, growing 4.23% in the second quarter of this year, and we hope to be able to ramp that up to 5%, 6% towards the end of the year. The Naira has begun to firm up. Went as far as 1,900 to the dollar at some point, but back to about 1,450. Now we're seeing major gains in trade, especially manufactured goods trade, which went up 173% and 67% year on year. And Nigeria has been able to see 12 trillion in terms of trade surplus this year. We hope that balance of payment surplus will do much better than the $6 billion we were able to do last year. People ask, okay, how does it concern the people? But I want to say that, look, when you have to, it's like having a chemotherapy patient. Sometimes you're going to shed weight, but once you can get through that, then you begin to grow back. What Mr. President has done is to do the needful in terms of the Naira, in terms of getting rid of $10 billion yearly of petroleum subsidy that we used to pay that we never had value for, and it was just a few people who were getting all of that in their pockets. Mr. President came and on the day he was sworn in, he said, you know what, subsidy is gone, and we've been having to live with that. And now Nigeria has a new petroleum sector where we're now exporting to the rest of the world the refined products, not just crude oil. We're even a net importer from the United States of America, which is something that's happening since 1973, had never happened. So when I look into the horizon, inflation coming down, we're down to 20.12%. There was a report from RENCAP that said that even we are overestimating our inflation, that we should be at 12% now, and they're looking at 6% next year. I personally believe that we should be able to do 8% next year, single-digit inflation, which will further power up economic growth. That's double-digit economic growth we've been looking for and that we promised. I think it's going to be achievable. So I say that, look, if we have done this with infrastructure development going on all around the country, in every state, because they have more Naira now, even at the federal level, infrastructure is ramping up. That means that multidimensional poverty will go down, and is already going down, because that is exactly what brings down multidimensional poverty. So there's a lot in this for the Nigerian people. But I want to warn that, look, nobody's going to bring food to anybody's table. That's the truth, Nobody's going to bring money into your pocket just for doing nothing. So Nigerians will reposition. Wherever you see the infrastructure going on, move closer, see what you can do, see what you can supply, see if you can offer your labor. Don't join the cynical group who will say, oh, what are they doing the infrastructure for? Is the infrastructure we will eat? Those infrastructure that's going on, people are getting paid, either for labor or for supply, for sand, for cement, for whatever. So Nigerians should please reposition, get involved, and stay positive.
Thank you very much, sir. And I would ask one last question. What is your advice to chartered accountants that are here today and even watching online?
Well, thank you very much. Well, I have a speech to deliver on behalf of the Vice President, and I think the kernel of that speech is to remind accountants that they are the gatekeepers of integrity. I'm also one. I'm a fellow of the Institute, and we're proud of our profession. There's even much more going on in terms of that profession. There's sustainability issues, there's climate issues. So I want to just tell accountants watching to continue to get tooled, Take your continuous education, mandatory continuous, courses, training. Take them very serious. Continue to be at par with what's going on in the rest of the world. In fact, also understand that your services are not only for Nigeria. You want to position yourself to be able to deliver services online, remotely to any part of the world. But that will also depend on how much preparation you have done. And
of course, you can hear the speakers and, of course, the representatives, the dignitaries that they just concluded 55th Annual Accountant Conference. Like I did mention at the beginning of this show, it's a very lovely conference, well packaged. And of course, you've been listening to the interviews of the dignitaries or the speakers at the conference. Of course, Mr. President was ably represented at the conference by the Accountant General of Federation. There are, of course, the ministers were there. Oni of Ife, His Royal Majesty Obaini Adeyeye Ogunwusi Ojaja II was also present. Of course, Sultan of Sokoto was also at the conference. For those who were there either physically or virtually, captains of industries were at the just concluded AAC. And of course, they were all discussing the topic, building resilience, aligning reforms for Nigeria's development. And of course, you should have also seen the communique issued by our beloved institute regarding that conference. But now, if you have not seen it, of course, you should just get a copy and lay your hands on and go through the recommendations to the government from your institute on what should be done, which are matters arising from that conference. Let me quickly go to participants on the show today, because without you, we are not there. We need you to actually follow what we are doing on ICAN-ngr. Sonny Abdulakim, streaming from Abuja. Thank you. Olabanji Daramola from Lekki, Lagos. Thank you for joining us on the show today. Ismail Sulaiman, my own friend and brother from Benin, Kebbi State, land of equity. Thank you for joining. Abu Joseph from Asaba in Delta State. Thank you for joining us today. We also have Alaya Abdul Rashid, FCA, all the way from Ilorin. It's nice to hear from you. Tella Akinwale Gabriel from Oluyole and District Society in Ibadan. Fagbolate Mitope Adeniyi, FCA. Thank you for joining us once again. Obogbayiro Wonuola, thank you for joining us. Nimota Modupe from Abuja, it's a pleasure having you on this show. Abraham Isaac Ubokdam from Uyo, thank you for being part of this show. Taiwo Ojo, streaming live from FCT Abuja, thank you for joining us today. Akomu Sunday from Ogbomoso and District Society. A lot of people are here on this show, following us on the special edition of ICAN-ngr regarding the 55th A.A.C coverage. Of course, like I said, you've been listening to those interviews. I'm sure many people will be like, yes, I heard this man speak. He said this. These are the interviews that also happen behind the scene, which you are also bringing to your view today. So don't go away. Sit back. We still have much more to bring to your attention. Where are you going? Go nowhere. Let's stick here and let's continue to follow us. I'll be right back as we go on with the clips.
Okay, thank you so much. It's always an honor and a great pleasure to be part of, a program like this. Of course, I'm at home because I'm also a member of the House. Well, ethical leadership, looking at it from the angle of, say, a regulator now, the keen interest is that, each time people talk about ethics, it's not just something you say for saying sake, just like, those that have spoken ahead of me, said. It's something that has to do with what now, kind of nosedive to who you are. And that is why, what kind of principles do you believe in? What kind of values are you really imbibing? And that's why you hear a lot of talk about being in our DNA, being a culture and the way we behave. Now, if you have an ethical leader, of course you expect that it will translate to the outcome that will come out from whatever he or she does. Now, reducing it to, maybe the area that is of interest to me. If you have an ethical leader who perhaps is able to demonstrate integrity in all that they do, it also translates to the organization that he or she is part of. And whatsoever we do, at the end of the day, as professionals, accountants that we are, there is something that will always come out with, and that is, say, a financial. Okay, thank you so much. It's always an honor and a great pleasure to be part of, a program like this. Of course, I'm at home because I'm also a member of the House. Well, ethical leadership, looking at it from the angle of, say, a regulator now, the keen interest is that, each time people talk about ethics, it's not just something you say for saying sake, just like those that have spoken ahead of me, said. It's something that has to do with what now, kind of nosedive to who you are. And that is why, what kind of principles do you believe in? What kind of values are you really imbibing? And that's why you hear a lot of talk about being in our DNA, being a culture and the way we behave. Now, if you have an ethical leader, of course, you expect that it will translate to the outcome that will come out from whatever he or she does. Now, reducing it to, maybe the area that is of interest to me. If you have an ethical leader who perhaps is able to demonstrate integrity in all that they do, it also translates to the organization that he or she is part of. And whatsoever we do, at the end of the day, as professionals, accountants that we are, there is something that will always come out with, and that is, say, a financial report, a financial statement at the end of the day. So if you have an ethical leader, it would mean that he should be able to provide leadership that will eventually, be embraced by others in the, in the organization, so that when you talk about credible financial statement coming out, it is because you have someone who is at the top driving it. So that is the essence of all of this, and that's the interest that, of course, Financial Reporting Council is showing in this whole process.
Okay, and also in the ongoing ICAN conference, we've been talking about reforms, building reforms, development, and all that. From the perspective of Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, reforms have also been put forward. What are the objectives of the reforms from the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria? Okay, thank you. For Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, what is driving our reforms currently is an acronym that has become like a maxim. We call it DOS. Things around digital transformation, things around operational efficiency. We even recognize that internally we might not have reached there. So we are interested in how we do it right. So in doing that, we ensure that, of course, we are no longer most of the discussions around how you do transformation, of course, we know that digital platforms are always better. When you are able to remove the human factor, then, of course, you are expecting that things will come out right. And then engagement is one of the key things that we have always thought as the right way to go. I used to learn from one of my very close friends from the not-for-profit side. He said it is better to jojo than to war. And one of the ways you do that is through engagement and continuous engagement. And so when we have forums of this nature, of course, Financial Reporting Council is interested because we know not only are we, talking to the right audience, we're also passing the right message to the right audience. You also spoke about the World Congress of Accountants, that's where we have it before, coming up every 4 years. We could also be having a remote or virtual Congress happening every 2 years. I want you to share more thoughts on that, sir.
It will be, it won't be a virtual, it will be in person. Well, it will be hybrid because, of course, we always have to be conscious of the problems of some of us who cannot travel easily, but it will be a hybrid Congress. It will be every 2 years, which is different from the previous one. It will be for the board, for the PAOs, for the members. So we will send invitation to the PAOs, and the PAOs will come with the people who are thinking about what's going well, what's going wrong, what is needed. So that will be the purpose of the main purpose and the main organization of this new World Congress. It will still be a World Congress because every PAO will be invited, so 142 countries, and it will be impactful because we will concentrate on the value we can provide during a two-day session. That it won't probably be as numerous as it was, but it will be very highly concentrated on topics which every PAO will then bring back and share with all its members. Now, another thing is it will be also connected to our regional organizations, which we have put in place and which we call IFAC Connect, and which are really a great new operation which took place last August in Kenya. And then it is also, very closely linked to the regional bodies, PAFA, of course, but also CAPA, and also Accountants in Europe, and CELIA, and the others. So the intention is to make sure that everyone gets something in a regular manner, not every 4 years, and that we convene all together in the right direction for the profession.
Hello everyone, it's ICAN-ngr team, and we are here live in Abuja to capture the 55th Annual Accountant Conference, themed Building Resilience, Aligning Reforms for Nigerian Development. Trust us, a whole lot of packages here to be unbundled to you, and it will be a mind-blowing event at the conference. Bishop, what do you see to this conference?
Yes, it's a promising conference, and I can tell you if there's something to look out for the happy hour. The happy hour, of course, will satisfy your curiosity. Look out for that and look forward to it. Participate in the games, get involved in the district society activities, and you can be sure it's going to be colorful, it's going to be glitz, it's going to be glamorous, not to talk about the gala night. I'll leave that. I think I'm going just too far, but look out for those outstanding features. They are the complements and the condiments to make the meal a delicious one.
And then to you, DBO, the presenters that we have actually invited to come here, what do you look out for?
I look out for the presenters that will hit the nail on the head. Look at the issue around the reforms. Also look at the issue around the young accountants. The young accountants should know that in this conference there is time for them to understand the reform that they will take forward. And also the SWAN.
Must understand that consequence management, or the lack of it in Nigeria, the missing link we've come to identify, is everybody's business.
jamming, 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 jamming. Can't you see I'm jamming? I give God the glory. Jamming, 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 jamming. I've been on a journey. I give God the glory. Dirty Diana, baby, bow solo job. Jamming, 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 jamming.
Regarding the conference, the 55th Annual Accountants Conference, what has been the learning point so far? What has inspired you so far in this year ongoing conference?
I think it's been unique in several ways. One of the ways we talked about what's the number this year. Last year we thought we had a fantastic number. We became the first accounting congregation anywhere in the world, and that was just put together about 8,000. Now we are talking upwards of 10,000. I mean, it means there's growth, and it's not just minimal growth, it's substantial growth from one year to the other. So that means there is something that ICAN is doing, or professes to be doing very well, which is emulating.
All right, and then what do you think will be the learning points back home, taking it back to your members in Canada?
A number of things. Now you also note, let me even state here, I'm in Canada, obviously, but I'm here also in Nigeria. So it means there is some tie back. Come, your father's land is still Nigeria, right? So wherever we go in the diaspora, we still have our roots here. And we must come back and make a contribution. One of the obvious things is we just had a talk now on the Benevolent Fund. One of the things I want to institute in Canada district is this idea of this welfare for our members. And well, because we are a growing organization, more or less, we thought we'd become bold and big enough to begin to put that in place. Now, our members can tap into what is available here in Nigeria, but what about back home? Okay, so we're trying to create something like that. So there's a lot to learn from here. I just picked up the pamphlet, and we're going to try and build in some of those. We already set up a committee, and we're working through that right now. So that, for me, it's one immediate thing I want is going to take back. And the other thing also is you find out that it's a melting point. We all come from different places, and we show up here at the mother conference. And then you don't find that there are so many people that you have missed. You don't even know where they were, but because they all come, what is good? So you're here and you're here. That in itself is a joy that brings the whole association, accountants together. And then we can then pride ourselves wherever we are. We are now encouraged to do more, because it means even if we don't get the benefit, people coming behind us will get the benefits. So that's all we're about, building for others to come enjoy.
And finally, your next year conference, Winnipeg 2026. I know you have a lot to say, but just in a short sentence, how do you think it will be?
Well, I would just want to say we have the slogan that says our next conference is going to be yet the best. Now, we were sure Toronto was going to be better than Calgary, even though Calgary was excellent in itself. So we just continue to up the game, up our standards. So we say, well, come into our conference next year, which will be Winnipeg 2026, and we assure you of a much better time than even in Toronto. It's going to be a more quieter environment, but that way I'm sure we'll maximize value for every single participant that attends.
So far, so good. How does it feel like? How is it going? What has been the learning points so far?
Wow, it's been beautiful. This conference is, better attended than imagined. Over 10,000 people here, great accountants, distinguished professional colleagues. It's been so awesome. So I'm glad I'm here.
All right. So taking the learning points back home to your members in the USA, what would you be sharing with them when you get back to home regarding the conference?
Oh, definitely. We have a lot to share. Meeting wonderful people, leaders, and I want to commend my father, who happens to be the chairman of this conference, Chief Oyaki Sulire, for a very well put together, wonderful conference. And this is something that we would like to even replicate at our district level.
All right, and finally, looking at your next year conference, what would you want to say, tell people about regarding the preparation?
Thank you for bringing that up. The next conference, the next ICAN-US International Accountants Conference will be taking place in the city of Newark, New Jersey, in the United States of America. And we've made the date to be even more convenient. So it's going to be happening July 28th to August the 2nd in 2026. It promises to be fun. If you want to have it, if you want to actually have a feel of what it's be like, ask the people who were there in Indianapolis in 2025. They will tell you how wonderful the conference is, and I'm too sure Newark will take it to the next level.
In your presentation, are saying that consequence management is not just a punishment. Yes. So what more is it?
Well, so for consequence management to be effective, it must go through a framework. And the framework that we have defined starts with identification. What are the likely issues that a reform may throw up, intended and unintended? Who will be the winners? Who will be the losers? And then what are the mitigants that we can put in place to ensure that the losers, we have some safety net that will cushion the impact of the reform on such people. And then it's also about communication, clear and transparent communication, without which every other thing you do, whether you are arresting, whether you are putting people in jail, you need to be clear on what has changed and why they need to change their behavior. And then you can then talk about putting in place measures that would deter future erring behaviors. And of course, like everything we do, you must always continue to monitor and establish a feedback system that ensures that there's accountability and the communication continues. So it's a little bit more than that. So there are about 5 elements in what I have described now, but sometimes the focus is just on the deterrent. It's part of it, but that's not all of it.
Okay, so still on that element you just also mentioned,
yes,
for successful framework.
Yes.
I also heard you talking about a push and pull system. Do you want to elaborate on what a push and pull is all about?
Essentially, we're saying that it's not in all cases that you wield the big stick. You can also reward and commend good behavior as a way to deter. So if we're in the same sector, and for each year, I get rewarded, I get recognized for good behavior, for compliance, after a while, other people within that sector will begin to think about their businesses to say, what can I do to also have this kind of recognition? So it's both the push and also the pull.
People consequence management, the missing link in economic reforms. Yep. From the angle of the EFCC, what exactly do we talk about consequence management?
Well, from the perspective of the EFCC, when you're talking about consequence management, it's identifying consequences also and putting up strategies, to manage those consequences. And like I said in my paper, because when we are talking about it now, we are talking in terms of reforms. And like I said also, that in every reforms, there are bound to be consequences, because you have winners or losers. Some losers would want to work against those reforms, either by subverting, the rules and the laws, to ensure that they either obey those reforms or they don't work with those reforms. So the management of the consequence now is how do you address, those reactions, that come after those reforms. And at the EFCC, as our mandate, suffices, what we do is to prosecute, infractions, because when those reforms are made, and like I said earlier, people who don't support those reforms may break or breach the law so that they don't comply with those reforms. So what we do at the EFCC is to prosecute such infractions, such breaches, that would also actually impact on the implementation or realization of those reforms. And our mandate is basically economic and financial crimes and also economic sabotage. So it depends on which area or such a breach of rules and regulation falls.
All right. There have been a number of economic reforms that have been talked about as we are discussing economic reforms in this conference, especially under this current administration. My question is, to what extent is the EFCC being carried along in all those reforms being taken or being undertaken under this administration?
Well, you need to be specific on the reforms, especially, and I'll say so because, it's not every aspect of the economy or every aspect of Nigeria that reforms are made that involve the EFCC. But where you have reforms that have to do with the judiciary or the investigative responsibilities or powers of the EFCC, I'll talk basically in terms of Administration of Criminal Justice Act. The EFCC is always part and parcel of addressing such, or being a part of making of such reforms. I'll also give you instances where even the National Assembly, where they want to pass some certain laws or legislations that would impact on the operations of the EFCC. The EFCC is always invited to be part of it. Some very clear instances I'll give that the EFCC had been very much effective and very much part of had been the enactment of the Process of Crime Recovery and Management Act, because the EFCC is the consumer of that act. We have also the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2022. The EFCC, as you agree with me, is the coordinating agency on the MLCFT, and even the Terrorist Financing Act. Before those acts were passed, the EFCC was also part of it, was brought in also to make its contribution. So to that extent, I'll say, in terms of reforms, the EFCC had been part of it, as long as, I'll reiterate, it relates to its mandate.
It's been said that everything that has a great beginning must have a good end. And I know that you've enjoyed this conference, no doubt. You've enjoyed the paper presentations, you've enjoyed the workshop sections, you've enjoyed the fireside, you've enjoyed the glitz, the glamour, you've enjoyed the happy hour, you've enjoyed the parade. What a colorful one. And you've had enough time interacting, socially connecting, and you've been educated, enlightened, oriented, and reoriented. Of course, you had the outcome from the rapporteur's report. You saw the beautiful closing ceremony, and I guess you sang the song Till We Meet Again. What a touching song, a song that leaves us with nostalgic feelings and leaves us with memorable effects about another wonderful conference. And of course, everything being said and done is going to culminate tonight with the gala night. You don't want to miss it for any reason. And I haven't said that. The crew is here again to tell you, haven't seen all of this. What do you have to say, Tosi?
All right, you have said it all, Bishop. It's a nice conference. We've enjoyed it. Of course, seeing you all next year conference, October, God helping us.
Yeah. And Bode, what do you have to say?
Next year conference is going to be at another level. If we have set the bar in this conference like this, please be present in the next conference and start preparing for it from now. Thank you.
And of course, with over 13,000 persons in attendance, both physically and virtually, what more is there to be expected? Of course, they will take all the T's, will cross all the T's and dot all the I's, and take all of these experiences as a learning curve to deliver another bump next year. So from all of us in the studio, we are saying get prepared and get set for 2026, because it's definitely going to be a blast. It's going to be explosive, and it's going to be wonderful.
ICAN at 60, we celebrate.
All right, from all of us from here, telling you thank you so very much for joining us. And do enjoy the rest of the year, the rest of the days ahead, and see you next year.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much, our viewers at home. I'm sure you have actually seen those clips regarding the just concluded 55th A.A.C. Quickly, for our virtual participants, our virtual delegates, the president has actually written to plead with you all for the unforeseen technical difficulties that was witnessed at the last conference. Apologies once again. And as such, in that letter, we have also been assured that there will be a complimentary access to the ICAN MCPD scheduled for November 14th, 2025, which will come with 5 additional MCPD credit hours. Apology for that glitch that happened. Quickly, let me take the announcements that we have on the show for tonight. For the 76th ICAN Professional Induction Ceremony, it holds November 25th to 26th, 2025 at ICAN Center, Lagos. Application for the induction will now close by Friday, November 7th, meaning that has been extended till November 7th, 2025. The fee remains 150,000 naira. Please take advantage of the extension and submit your application today. Also, registration for the November 2025 Diet Professional Examination is officially opened, and it will close by Thursday, November 13th, 2025. Late registration will attract a penalty of 5,000 naira, and all payment must be made directly or strictly online. Pay direct at commercial banks is no longer acceptable. So all of this, do you have a topic in mind for subsequent ICAN on episode? Share your ideas with us via the email address ooloko@ican.org.ng. And that is the show for today. I want to thank you all for being part of this special edition of the 55th Annual Accountant Conference coverage. Till we come your way again with now another guest and another topical issue, we plot with you to stay safe and stay sound. On behalf of the editorial team, I remain Tosin Akinwumi FCA, saying thank you for watching and bye for now.